black voters, we have to remember that there is a part of this country that they believed in Donald Trump, and they believed that he was doing a good job on the economy were it not for the COVID pandemic. And interestingly enough, they didn't separate out the two. So I think part of what we have to do going forward is certainly to make the economic argument. And Joe Biden campaigned on a very progressive agenda in many ways, and I think it is incumbent on him to move as quickly as possible to make good on those promises. I hope we pick up those 2 Senate seats in Georgia. I think, and I want to also give huge thanks to black women in this election, because Stacey Abrams I worked for her gubernatorial campaign. She had a 10-year plan that she put in place to help change the state of Georgia to where it is today, to be so competitive. And the election of Kamala Harris is a historic moment. I don't want us to lose sight of the positives that we gained in this election. And I think having her voice at the decision-making table is going to mean a huge difference in the way policy gets made. I think the most important thing we have to do as a party, frankly, is I'd like to see us rebuild the 50-state strategy that Governor Dean put in place. I was there with him at the DNC to make sure that we are strong in the state parties and we are able to communicate with voters and talk about who we are as Democrats, our values, our policies, and hopefully, look, I think it is for Trump voters to decide, do you want to join and be part of the way this country is changing? It is up to you. Okay. You don't have to, but we'd sure love that.
All right, so let's go back to David Sirota on this. You've written that in your newsletter recently about the Affordable Care Act becoming a losing issue for Democrats, even though they relied heavily on it as an issue in both 2018 and 2020. So what do you think the Democrats need to do to change their strategy on health care, given that a lot of progressives really still believe, like Bernie Sanders, in the core question of single payer, and a lot of others really don't?
Well, I mean, the polling is pretty clear. The ACA is at best mildly, weakly supported. In Georgia, for instance, it is underwater in the latest exit polls. Much stronger in the polls that came out of the election is an expansion of allowing people to buy into government-run health care. Now, you can disagree with that or agree with that on the policy merits, but that's the data. And so I think the short-term politics of the election of saying that the Republicans were trying to get rid of pre-existing conditions, not a bad short-term strategy, because the Republicans have such an extremist position. It worked in that election to a certain extent. But moving forward, this healthcare crisis is going to get worse. The situation on healthcare, where millions of people have lost their health insurance, healthcare premiums for those who have it have skyrocketed, and health insurance profits have skyrocketed, has been a referendum on the ACA. And I think a lot of voters are saying the ACA is simply not enough. Joe Biden has campaigned on a public option. He didn't mention it all that much, and in some of the debates he tried to limit it a little bit and sort of say it's not going to be available necessarily to everyone. But that's got to be, they've got to go big on that.
Very big. Okay, Ashanti Gola, what should Stacey Abrams have now? Given, you got a shout out very quickly. What's Stacey Abrams do now? DNC chair, what does she do?
Stacey deserves all her flowers, and Stacey should do whatever Stacey wants to do.
Okay, right. That's Ashanti Gola. She's the political director for Emerge America, a group that works to recruit and elect Democratic women to office. We also heard from Karen Finney and David Sirota, founder and editor of the Daily Poster. Thank you all so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is special coverage from All Things Considered and NPR News.
Okay, let's turn now to a place here in Washington, D.C., where some of the divisions in this country have been starkly laid out. During protests earlier this summer, the mayor of Washington, D.C. approved the painting of a giant street painting, a giant mural, if that's the correct word. The words Black Lives Matter in giant yellow letters are on 16th Street outside of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, the White House. This is a place that people have gathered a number of times in recent months for protests and demonstrations, and NPR's Tom Bowman is there for us. Hey there, Tom.
Hey, Steve, how are you?
Okay, what have you been seeing?
Well, we're seeing streams of people coming up right by the White House on 15th Street. This is festive atmosphere going on. Steve, it's almost like someone just won a World Series game. It's that kind of energy you're hearing. There are signs, one says, Trump's a loser. Another says, love is power. A lot of Black Lives Matter flags, gay pride flags as well. And everyone's really in a good mood, just kind of yelling, as you can just hear.
There we go.
And some NPR supporters as well.